Hello and welcome to part 4 of this Chevron beaded project. We are using 3 colors and they were supposed to be contrasting. The copper and the pearl are pretty contrasting. However, this turquoise in the middle doesn't seem to be doing the job that I needed it to do. So anyway, but this is not going to be an end design. I chose these colors because I wanted them to contrast and for you to see the different steps and to see how this design is put together. So we have 15 horizontal rows, right? That's what we started with in the beginning in tutorial number 3, video number 3. And remember, I said the middle row, which is row number 8, it's around here somewhere, I'm thinking. Row number 8 is where the color bead is the new color of the arrow is going to start. So we're going to start an arrow, the point of the arrow now in this column that we're working with. And we ended the last tutorial putting our bottom bead here, and now our bead, our cord, our thread is coming out of this last bead on the second row. Okay, I also changed my camera a little bit, so it's not going to be auto-focused. It's just a singular focused camera. All right, I took a drink of water. I'm also brewing some tea right here. It is early morning for me. Okay, not early morning. It is actually 9 a.m. Everyone is asleep in my house. We are on spring break. And so my husband's at work. My kids are asleep. So I am taking advantage of this quiet time. And I also was able to sleep in. No school means no waking up at 5:50 a.m. getting everybody moving, starting lunches and whatnot. So, okay. So let us start. We're still working with the white, okay? Remember, we have a full white here. We have the white stair step and then the white partner, I guess you could say. And now we're going to give this guy a partner here, which is probably going to be a little bit of a stair step now. All right, so we're just going to thread that through, and remember, these are easy, right? We're just adding a bead into the stair step, creating another stair step. So let's see where our row is, our 8th row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is right here. Well, if we're adding in there, so this might not even be the time to add in all actuality. Remember, we need to pull up, okay? I'm going to try to keep my hand out of the shot. All right, so we're going to put okay. Yeah, so it's looking like we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh wait, that should have been our copper bead. Oh no, we're going to add our copper bead coming down because this is row 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we're going to have to, this will be 7. We need the copper bead to go up here, but we are skipping that one. So on our way back down, we will do the copper bead, the arrow point. All right. Okay, quick mini break right there. So it is always bittersweet with these breaks, these school breaks, because I, of course, don't have to adhere to the schedule, waking up before the sun gets up and doing all of that, especially during the winter time. When it is cold, I hate getting out of my warm bed. And I am cold natured. My feet and my hands and the tip of my nose are usually cold unless it is 80 plus degrees. So I am very much a southern girl. Texas winters are even too cold for me, and it hardly freezes down here in the Gulf Coast. So for me, 40 degrees, even 70 degrees is a bit chilly, but it's tolerable. 70 is. I could go with 70-degree weather. Definitely don't like the 40. Okay, so now it's time to do the X. So we are coming out of the second row, last bead of the second row. You can see that right here. And we need to give this bead a partner. And in order to do that, remember, we're going to come in this top bead and go down this entire ledge right here. So let's pick up a pearl, and I'm going to try to shoot down this entire ledge. You'll have to forgive me. I usually work under a magnifying glass, but it's difficult to do this and shoot it. All right, so here we've got our partner. Okay, so now we are coming out of the last bead of the third row. I won't be able to get any closer because I don't have the autofocus on, okay? So we've got this last bead, last bead of the third row is where we're coming out. And so now we need to go under the bead to its left and go back up and come out this second bead on the top row. Okay, we want to come out right here. Oops, right here. Okay, so into the second bead to the left, and I'm just going to go in one bead. Whoops, it shot out. Are we tangled again? All right, let's see how we're looking here. Where are we at? No, we do have a little bit of a knot right here, which is why my project was pulled, and it's not much of a knot, it's just a little twist. Got twisted up. Okay, and I can't stress enough, the longer your cord, the more twisties and knots you're gonna get. But let's see, where are we? But if your cord is long, you don't have to do as many additions, right? And so that's where personal preference comes in. Do you want to add cord, or do you just want to deal with the tangles? All right, so now we are coming out of this second bead to the left on the third row, and we want to go up this last bead of the second row. Okay, I hope you guys are able to see this. We want to come up that bead, and then, well, we might as well come up. You see that bead that I'm coming up? So this X can be a little confusing, and this X is actually a lot harder to undo, but it can be done. It's just a lot harder. You'll have to pull these apart and try to pick out you'll have to try to pick out the thread that crossed over, but it can be done. Takes patience. Okay, and so now we're coming out of this last bead of this second row, and we want to go up this second bead of the top row. Okay, And so now our thread is coming out of this second bead of the top row and puts us in great position to add another bead down below. So then we're going to go down the last bead right there, pull our thread, pick up a pearl, and then go down. And so these are going to be simple. It's just adding a bead. So we want to remember, we want to start our copper arrowhead, the copper point, I guess we could say. We're going to start that on row number 8. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That doesn't seem right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So right there, okay? So 1, 2. So the third bead is going to be the copper one. Oh goodness. My thread almost came out of the eye of the needle. Okay, had to fix that up. Okay, so one more here, one more pearl. Remember to tighten and pull down, straight down or straight up. That way we don't get a curve into the design. All right, so here is where we put in our copper bead. We're going to take one copper, put that in, and pull this through, and there, that is going to be the point of our arrow. And here is where the counting is going to come into play. Well, we don't have 4 here, do we? No, we don't. So this is going to be a little more difficult for me to show. So I like to count the number of beads that are in a row, and that tells me when it's time to change. So see, we've got 4 per row. And once you get 4 of one color in a row, it's time to change color for this particular design for 15 rows, okay? Now I haven't tried with any other number of beads, any other number of rows. This is just the design, the width I've been working with the entire time. I need to show you guys this. Oh, it doesn't show up as well on camera. And also I'm drinking a sencha, which is a green tea. And I usually drink a Yirokuro, which is a Japanese tea, so is sencha. And the Yirokuro puts off such a beautiful green tea. And this sencha is not as bright, but it tastes similar. And the reason why I've tried this sencha is because the Yirokuro is pretty expensive. Okay, we don't need to do the X for this one. We only need to do the X on one side. So this one will partner up just nicely right there. And so, yes, so the sencha is about, let's see, $7 cheaper than the Yirokuro per ounce, per 2 ounces, I guess I should say. All right. So now we just need to be cognizant of our color change, because the two beads on top and on bottom of our point, those also need to be copper, because it's going to be a graduated system, a graduated splay, I guess you could say. So it's going to be radiating out. So I picked up a copper here, and now I'm going to get another copper. I guess I could have done without this, the turquoise bead. We could have just worked with copper and pearl. Okay, see, so we can see the startings of the arrow coming in. And I'm trying to think about how many hours I spend doing this, just beading one by one. I mean, this is a bead weave. It's not, you know, you can't load up a whole bunch of beads at once. Some designs you can get, like I have a netted necklace that I made, and that one I could load up 7, and I would just have to weave through one single bead, but it creates a nice little netted look. And because this project is more solid, of course you're going to have to, it's going to take more time. All right, so we're back to the X again. So again, I'm going to give this guy a partner, and it's going to sit right on top of this bead. So I need to come down through the top and go down these top 3. So there we go. So I usually cannot get all of those 3 beads at once, and I think the reason why is because the needle that I use is so curved. So this is the one that I've been working with, and it's super curved, and I brought out a new needle for this project. So something to know if you want to work with a straighter needle. All right, so now we're coming out of this last bead of the 3rd row. We need to go up. So in order to do that, we've kind of backtracked. So we're going to go into the bead directly to its left, go up that bead, pull the cord out, give it a little tighten, and then we're going to go up this middle bead here, and then up the 2nd bead of the top row. Okay, so now I hit the mic, sorry. Now we are coming out of the 2nd bead, this one right here, of the top row, and we want to go down this bead to start our trek back down the design. And my thread keeps coming out of this eye. Well, almost. I stop it. Okay, and so now we can start with the white, and we will bring it down again until we get close to that copper, in which we need to add a copper bead. So let me show you what happens if you may not be paying attention and accidentally put the wrong color in. So I'm going to purposely pick up this white and go into the copper. So what's going to happen here is we're going to know that we need a copper because we're making the arrow, right? So here we have the arrow, and then we'll pick up another copper because we're like, oh, we're still with the copper. And you'll see that your design is crooked. This is not looking right. So what happened is this here, this white, this pearl should have been copper. So in order to fix that, this is going to be extremely simple. All we do is take the easiest thing I find is just to take the thread off of the needle and then just pull each one of these beads out singly. So I will pull that and pull this all the way through, and here's my bead. Okay, same thing. We'll pull this one out and just pull the thread through, put the bead back in the pile, and we'll loosen this guy up. Now this is the one that should have been copper. Okay, so we'll pull that out, put that back into the pile, re-thread the needle. Now what really sucks is when you get all the way through and you see that you've made a mistake, and then you get to decide whether or not you want to undo all of that. I've done several columns and rows before I realized what my mistake was, and I would have to undo the X's. And like I said, those are tough, but it can be done, and I've done it many times. So the correct color here is going to be a copper. And if you just remember what your design is, and it also helps to have the graph, artbeads.com. It also helps to have the graph here. So this is the part of our arrow that we're working with, and you can see the color graduation, the angle of the colors here. And also by counting these rows, you'll know what color is what. You'll know what color goes where. Okay, so then we're going to go down this copper, and we're going to give that pearl a nice copper partner. And now we can continue. We've corrected our mistake. We're filling in this copper arrow. Whoops. Pulled a little too hard. My mat is sliding. All right, and see, the arrow is beginning to take shape. And slowly we will start filling this in. It'll start filling in and spreading out. And it's going to look super nice. So also what I should mention is now that we're down here, we have our 4 whites. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's time to add in wait a minute. This is the color that we add. You know, I don't know that this counting is going to be correct because of the way I did this demonstration. So I'm going to ignore this bottom row for right now, okay? Normally I would say that it's time to do a color change because we've done 4, but see how we have turquoise in this row, and it's just, this is not a reliable count. So I will show you the count on the bigger project, the one that's near completion, and I will show you how to do the counting. All right, and so now we're just going to give this bottom bead a partner, and all we need to do is just go up the bead in the row above, and that partner is going to sit nicely. Very nicely. All right. If you don't have a Hobby Lobby near you, you can always order online, of course. Their bead, they have a nice bead selection. Color selection is great as well. I know shopping online is a little difficult, especially when it comes to colors, and clothing is difficult as well. But there are other bead stores online, and I know of a couple like Beadaholic. They ship. I don't know around the world. I know they ship in the U.S. But okay, we need to add a copper, so I'm picking up a copper here. And as long as you don't open the bead package, you can return them. So that's always nice. But that holds you back. That puts your project start date back, because now you gotta send your bead back and order another one if you'd like. So I would just try to find a nice bead shop that's local to you. And not everyone has that luxury, yes. Another good place to find beads is Fire Mountain Gems. They have all kinds of beading. They have leather working. They have crystals, raw crystals, any kind of jewelry making. They've got post sterling silver and all of that. Okay, so now we are coming out of this copper one here, and we need to add another copper. So if you can see the pattern starting here, that is wonderful. Okay, now we don't need a copper here, because the copper would go on top of this one, and that would sort of put this copper alone. We're trying to have all these coppers touch one another. Okay, we're coming up on the X after we put this bead in. Coming up on the X. And our design is taking shape. Okay. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this. I should start okay, here's the X. These three here is what we're going to go down. 1, 2, and 3, and that is going to give that top white bead a nice partner. There we go. So now we're coming out of this third row, last bead of the third row, but we need to go backwards and then up again. So we're going to go in the next bead to its left. Okay. Come out of that. Pull our thread through. And go in this last bead of the second row, and then in the second to last bead of the top row. Okay, and that makes our X. All right, so now we're coming out of this second to last bead, and you can see we've got a nice solid weave going here. This is thicker than this down here because we only go through once down here. This one we are threading in several times. Not several, we do it twice. All right, so the project is looking so nice. I like it a lot. I kind of like how this copper looks with this white too. I didn't think I would, but I do like it. Okay, so we're gonna go back down this top bead. There we go. And now we can continue filling in the steps. Okay, so we put one pearl bead in there, and now we need to put a copper bead here. Okay. We'll just slide in our copper, and that is continuing with our arrow design. We'll continue to fill in this center part of the arrow. I wonder if my eyes are getting a workout, which means they're going to get stronger because I am doing this beadwork without my magnifying glass. It is a little difficult, but maybe it's making those cones and rods stronger, you know, and I don't really, I mean, there was a point in time when I didn't need the magnifying glass, and I guess it's evident that I don't really need it right now, but I find that it's just more comfortable that I have the magnifying glass because I'm not straining, and I'm focusing and straining to really see what I'm doing here. Okay, so now this is going to be a simple addition. This one is always simple. Now, if you don't like working down, up, you can always turn your project over and always work down, or turn it over and always work up. And however you find it most comfortable for you and your beading process, okay? You just have to remember that the one side you have to do the X, and there's no getting around it. I've tried, and if you can figure it out, please let me know, because the X takes up a lot of time. And it would be great if we could just get those partners to sit next to one another without having to do all that extra hullabaloo. Okay, so this is working fast. We know we're all in the copper here, and all we're doing is filling in the stairs while at the same time creating another stair for the way back down. We are almost done with our complete line of arrow. And so we do need a copper here. We don't want to put white because this copper, we need a copper bead touching the copper bead. My eyes must be getting tired. I can't see. There we go. All right. So now we're to the X. We pick up our pearl, go down that top one, down that second one, and down that third one. There we go. Okay. And sometimes if you have an irregular bead that's maybe too short on one side, and these beads will not sit well on top of one another, and you'll be able to definitely see. So it's good to get a quality bead. Let me show you a design that I made with a less quality bead. Okay, and I actually found that netting as well, that netting project. Okay, so this is like a choker, okay, and it has this fringe, this nice fringe. So these beads I did pretty much the same design, except I put in, of course, these cylindrical, these circle beads. I don't know what they're called. But you can see how all of these are not uniform, and so they don't sit atop one another. This one is a little bit shorter, and so they're not as uniform and as clean looking as this. However, that was my intent with this, because this is sort of an elegant, maybe shabby chic, I guess you could say, design. There is another one, so right here too, you see how these just don't quite sit atop one another. And I love this clasp, by the way. This was a clasp, I put a clasp like this on one of the Chevron bracelets, and it just slides in there. And luckily it fit on this particular design, just nice and snugly. Okay, so, and then just for showing you, this is that netting that I was talking about. This design was a lot easier because I strung, what is this, 5, and then it went through this central orange bead, so it wasn't quite as difficult. And this was stringing 4 at once and then stringing it up through, maybe it was 3. Oops, sorry, I wasn't in frame. Yes, and so these 3 here, I believe it was 3 on a string, and then it went up this central orange right there. So this didn't take as long. This is a magnetic clasp, by the way, and you need to be very careful with magnetic clasp. This clasp is not very strong, and so this, unfortunately, this necklace falls off a lot. It's not very heavy, to be honest, so I'm not quite sure why it falls off like that. Okay, so quick little interruption, but now we're back. Okay, so we need to complete the X. Is that right? Yes, we need to complete the X. And you know, one of the things about, I would really recommend not stopping around this X area, because you can forget that this is your X area. An easy way to remember, of course, is to look at this weaving here, because it's different from the weaving down here. Okay, but a lot of times I have really messed up this area because I didn't realize that this was the X area, and it made the design just not very, it messed up the design in a way, because somehow there was an extra stair step or not enough stairs, something like that. So I would recommend not stopping around the X, or at least passing the X, so you will know. So if you stopped right here, you would think it's possible that you would think you would need to continue downwards and miss this one up here. Okay, and so, well actually what you needed to do was go over here and continue the X, as opposed to continuing the downward trek. Okay, so we're going to go over to the left. We're going to go up that middle one, and then up the second one of the top row, and then back down the last bead. All right, and of course we need copper. So we'll pick up a copper and go down that one. And we will completely finish this here. And we are at 40 minutes on this video already. Now, it's not going to take you, I don't think it, oh, I picked up 2. I don't think it'll take you 40 minutes to get through this, even as a beginner. Unless there's lots of mistakes and you're going to have to go through and correct them. But this, like I said, this design takes patience. And, you know, beading for me is relaxing. This is actually, I don't find myself getting frustrated with this unless I'm in a hurry or I'm trying to get to a certain stop point. And that's when I find I get really frustrated. But for the most part, this type of work is just stress-free for me, and I deal with the issues as they come up. Okay, so now we're here, and you can see if we were to add a white one, I'm just going to go ahead and add a white one to show you how it's not the right choice. So see here, we added a white and that messes up our diagonal to the arrow. So that was incorrect. So what I can do, instead of taking my thread out, I'm just going to pull the thread to the side so I don't stab it or go through it, and just go through the thread is what I'm talking about. Because sometimes you can get tangled into the thread and you won't be able to come out. And there we go, I did not. So if you just pull the thread to the side, you can unweave your weave. Just take care, and the idea is not to actually stab through the cord as you're coming through the bead, okay? And then just go through the bead and pull it out. Okay. All right, so the pearl is not what we need. We need a copper to partner up next to the pearl, and that, oh, I'm sorry, I was going the wrong way. We need a copper to partner up next to this pearl, and that will complete the bottom part of the arrow. And so now we're going to go all the way up with copper, but our center row has 4 coppers. Do you see that? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. And remember, for this particular design, for this row, 4 is our maximum of each color, okay? And we're not working with this right here because of the way we started this design. That 4 rule does not apply to this area here right now. Okay, so when we get to this 4th one, and that's probably going to be when we come back down, this is going to be a color change, because that is where the next arrow is going to start. Okay, so we see how it is. Maybe I should just untangle this. See, we have the 4 here, and then we have the starting of the next one. I wrapped this up because it was getting I was having too many black cords everywhere. Okay. All right, so let me just finish this last one, and then I will decide whether or not this last column, I will decide whether or not we need to do another video on adding another color. But you know, I don't think we do. I think we are going to be okay. This is just getting you started. I will, however, do a separate video for the diamond in the middle, okay? For those of you who want to put a diamond and then have the arrows going the other way. Because the diamond is basically just 2 arrows back to back. And that's where the graphing will help as well. Coloring it out, getting it down onto paper. I am definitely one who likes to get things down onto paper. It helps solidify it in my memory. Okay, here is where we do our X. So we need to grab a copper to complete this diagonal and to complete the angle of the arrow. So we're going to go down the last 3. 1, 2, and 3. and set that guy right next to his pearl partner. But we are not finished. We need to do the X. So go right next door to that second one on the third row. Okay, then go up the last one on the second row and up the second to last one on the first row, which is that pearl one up there. And so we're coming out of the pearl and we want to go down the copper. Okay, and this I would say would be a good point to stop. You could add another bead here, but this is where I'm going to stop. You could add another bead to let you know that you need to continue with this stair step. But if you were to end right here, your thread would be coming out of this third one. That would be the indicator that you need to complete the X. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And if you have any questions, please let me know and I will try my best to answer them. And if it's something that I need to make another video on it, I will, so that I can answer your question. And the next video, we will continue on with this design here. Okay, let me just, I don't need to unwrap it. And actually it is going to take some time. I'm going to need my magnifying glass to unwrap it. But yes, we're going to continue on this with this design, finish it up. I am going to need to decide how I want to add a clasp. This is for a male, and so I need to get a not so dainty clasp and figure out how to finish that part for him. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next video. Take care.